Hey, welcome everybody. In today's show, we're going to be talking about ChatGPT Pro and is it worth the $200 it is right now? Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, haven't I heard this debate? Like, didn't we kind of go through this when Pro came out a couple months ago? And the answer is, like, even if we didn't necessarily talk about it on the show, which we definitely talked about, but what has changed is deep research, as well as what that means for using the different models. So we want to bring this conversation back to you guys again, because it truly isn't the same conversation we were having a month ago because of the deep research and what OpenAI has released. But now we have to bring in all sorts of considerations and questions we'll cover on the show today. Well, should I just wait? Is it the weight equation? Should I be able to just wait it out till it comes? They say it's going to come to the plus and the free tier possibly down the road. Well, do I need to pay the $200? Should I wait? What's the competitive advantage if I did pay the $200? And honestly, there's a lot more nuance that goes into that. So that's what we're going to be covering today on the show. This is the Daily AI Show. Today is February 11th, 2025. I'm joined by Beth. I'm Brian. We should have Carl here in just a few moments as well. But before Carl comes and shares some of his, use cases, Beth, let's just talk really kind of like briefly about sort of what has changed. Because I think that's the biggest conversation right now is sort of they released this deep research, and I will tell you, this is my experience. And you tell me if you had the similar, Beth. I didn't really realize what it was. If I'm being perfectly honest, I saw the announcement, I saw what it was, and I thought, oh, well, Gemini has something similar to that, and I've used it, and we just talked about it on the show last week, and it's really, really impressive. And of course, there was still a lot going on about R1. We don't talk every day about DeepSeek right now, but R1 was out there, and I'm saying, well, R1 does a really good job of it. And then Perplexity said, well, hey, we'll give you access and we'll do our Perplexity thing on top of it. And so I was like, is this ChatGPT sort of catching up? And is this something that's sort of necessarily valuable? In just probably a week's time, both with the show and Andy and Carl talking and just doing other research. I don't know about you, Beth, but I will say I kind of feel like I've switched. And now I've said, oh, you know what? Deep research is not just another. It's clearly doing things that are different. This is not just my opinion, but watching everybody's reaction videos. And obviously what Carl, who just joined us, has said as well. But Beth, like, were you like, did you already get this from day one? Were you different than me? Because I will say I was a slow roll getting to this point and then getting to this conversation today.
So I think for me, the pivot point is the ROI needs to be faster, right? For 20, the ROI does not need to be immediate for me. For 200, like I wanted to have some sense of where I was going to pull that in and how that was going to impact me. And Carl is with us, but I will say and we'll come back to it in a little bit. Most of the people that I follow who had been like, I am not sure, have in the last week and a half, 10 days been putting out posts like, okay, I bit the bullet. I am now like, I get it now. And that was another reason that we wanted to do the show because the initial thing, there seemed to be an initial wave of people who were like, sure, 200, no problem. Nice perplexity sweatshirt, Carl. Um, and then there were people who like what took their time, watched, waited, and now there seems to be another wave of people saying, "Oh yeah." I was like, "All right, it's a $200 experiment. I'll see." And we're just seeing waves of people sharing their use cases and why it was a really great idea to do.
Yeah.
Hey,
And now,
Carl.
Carl, you've joined us and we want to make sure to give you time. And we're going to let you go kind of here for a little bit, Carl, because number one, you're limited on time today and how long you could be with us. So since we do have you, let's pass it to you. And just as a quick background, Carl, you've had access to the pro plan for how long? Did you do it immediately after it came out?
Yeah, because I wanted to try what was the thing that it was O1 Pro that really I was like, "Okay, we'll do this for a month."
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, let's try O1 Pro." Ran it with, for client work, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually pretty good to do client work." More so to do like, the strategy piece because it has a higher level of reasoning than anything. And but if it was just pro, and if it just stayed at pro, I probably 60-40, 65-40 probably wouldn't have renewed because I was like, yeah, Pro's okay, but I think most of the stuff I could probably get away with O1. But then and Sora didn't move any needle for me. I'm like, oh great. Lots of Sora, but Sora's still it's okay. But I don't use it, right? But when they went with O3 Mini High, that was the one I was like, okay, that actually, because I use it a couple times, more and more and more. And really that's become my default because you have that reasoning. It's generally quick and you have the search capability with it.
Right.
I barely use 4.0 if I want to just general things. Sometimes I need really quick answers, so I'll go back there. But the ability to keep switching. So why don't we just I'll just
And
share this screen.
let's just go through what do you have with with the GPT Pro? You have sorry, with the GPT yes, with the GPT Pro subscription.
Yes. So with the Pro subscription, you have O1 Pro to start, and you have I can't remember how many, like I think it's near unlimited
Right.
yeah, for O1 Pro. Then you get Sora. I don't know if it's unlimited, but you get a lot. And then you get Operator, which you don't see here because didn't turn on my VPN because that's only available in the United States. I can only use it if I turn on my VPN. So you get Operator with it. You get O3 Mini High, O3 Mini, which I don't even use because of O3 Mini High. And um and yeah, that's the difference. And then you get Deep Research, which is the ultimate, like just I actually canceled my Google account because I was like, I can't have two. Then compare both. It was like didn't make any sense. So it was like, let's stick with Deep Research. Maybe if something happens, it's only at $20 a month. So yeah, I'll put the $20 a month piece to it. It's $27, I think, in Canada now. I don't know how bad our dollar is. But so I think the most amazing thing that I've been using it for is O3 Mini High, but it's the deep research aspect and what's really neat about it. So if you go to GPT-4, you can use GPT-4o, Canvas, export files, everything that you can do there. And it seems to be like a layer on top of deep research.
Right.
So if I go to O3 Mini High with deep research, I still can't do anything. I can't upload any documents. But if you go to GPT-4o, I can upload anything. Anything that GPT-4o can upload, PDFs, Word docs, images, anything, and combine it with deep research, it works. And so that's where I'm like, why would you do that? And then if you really wanted to me go above and beyond, like in terms of reasoning and actually like a really strategic task, you go O1 Pro, deep research, and you can put images there. That's, I think, all you can do with O1 Pro. So it's the capabilities of whichever model you use plus the deep research aspect. I think that's an amazing tool that even like a LinkedIn profile, like a post yesterday said, oh, if there's one guy, I think he's a RevOps dude at Winter, and he was like, oh, how I prepare for prospect meetings is I would do deep research and just, full analysis of the prospect and all that stuff. I'm like, cool, that's awesome. Like any SDR, BDR should have this. It should be like table stakes. Every single company should provide that. That would just an immediate level up for anybody. But I was like, you know what? You know what you could do? And I started piecing it together. I was like, why don't you? Yes, you can do that. But instead of that, why don't you take, I think the underused aspect of deep research combined with these models is the analysis piece. It can analyze data like it's crazy. Like it because it's using O3. So And I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. I think it was an agency, and they don't do paid media stuff. They're more of like brand and website stuff. And they were saying, "Hey, so I had an idea. It's like, you know, w- why don't you take all Google Ads data, like if you for an account, export it and chuck it all in, like everything, whatever audience reports, campaign performance reports, every single report that Google AdWords has, export it all, feed it all in. Then ask it every day or every couple days, hey, how can I improve my ads? Just keep, it's important. You're going to have to keep exporting and then importing, exporting, importing. And it's going to tell you how to improve your AdWords. But then it got me thinking, hold on a second. Let's combine that with operator. Let's take all that and just say, hey, how would you do this? Give instructions, take instructions, give it to operator. Operator uploads to, does your Google AdWords. Now it could be probably going to be slow and you have to take a look at it. But don't you see? I'm like, hey, you could literally eliminate paid agencies or paid search agencies just by doing that.
Assuming it worked, right? The caveat there, it made a difference, right? I mean, there might be nuances in marketing that maybe still, even though it could pour through the data, it's possible that it's still not going to outperform humans doing marketing because of just nuances, because of
Sure.
memory, but we would say is just experience, right? The 10, 20 years experience and looking at an ad and very quickly, like something I couldn't do, but somebody else with 20 years experience is going to look at an ad, look at the data really quick and probably come up with like two or three reasons, hypothesis on why it's not performing well and be able to pivot. We're not expecting necessarily AI to be able to do that, but the combination of the two, the expert plus what you're proposing, Carl, I do see as being like very, very powerful because you have all the context and memory of an expert plus this research of the data could be very, very powerful.
It
So,
could. So
but
here's the experiment. What one thing that the
yeah,
experiment that we're actually going to run is remove that person piece
Okay.
and
right.
take an account
Expert, you're saying.
and take the expert because so I know how to run Google Ads, but I'm not gonna input my perspective on it. I'm literally just gonna take every single output that deep research provides me and apply it to the account. Like no human at all. Just look at it and be like, okay, do it.
That's what I'm
And
doing.
I will
Yeah.
just pure execution. And I want to do that for a month. So we found an account and we hived off like a campaign and we're just be like, let's do it because the agency was like, "Holy cow, if we can pull this off." And I'm like, "I know exactly where you're thinking, and I know what I'm thinking."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, "We can eliminate a lot of different." I was like, "Yes." But you can see where the economic impact of this is, right? Like,
Sure.
Yes.
and we're talking 303. What happens with 404 when the reasoning is even higher? Like, this is amazing.
Or some future connection of out operator and deep research, right? I mean, that's the other thing because this is I don't want to get past what you're about to say, Beth. The other thing I was going to quickly say is what you're seeing with deep research. I heard somebody else say this, and so I'm kind of carrying their same idea. Is we are actually watching an agentic workflow. We're seeing it in a way where it's working in the background, but the way it pieces things together through deep research is fundamentally different. It's really to your point. You said you got rid of Gemini. That is different than what's out there currently. Not to say that they won't come out with something. It's the way it interacts between all the different sources and references back and forth to them. So it's not linear. It's like more like a neural network where the different nodes are connecting to each other and not necessarily in one direction. That's fundamentally different and much more human-like, or we might say in this case, it's a little bit more AI agentic. So is deep research basically a low level, low lying agent? I don't know. It's an interesting idea. Go ahead, Beth. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say in terms of the expert, it's entirely possible that what 20 years gives an expert is really great pattern recognition,
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
and the AI has really great pattern recognition without the 20 years, right? And then you sort of get to the place where experts sometimes say, no, right? Like, I don't believe that this is encroaching in my thing, and so is an expert using this better, if they use it, right? Potentially. So, Carl, yeah,
I
take us.
think the and this is why using it for Google AdWords is a good test because there isn't really any creative per se, right? There
Right.
is AdWords. So it's just words. So yes, you could have an amazing AdWord, but there's a lot of performance data that's behind it. These type of words in this type of pattern in this type of sequence using these type of a- um uh uh what is it? Pre like what's adverbs, verbs, and oh god,
Right.
I can't believe I've already forgotten it. Anything so any kind of word that highlights another word. Oh my goodness, yeah, I got tongue tied on that one. But it recognizes it's just a lot of pattern recognition for Google AdWords. Now I know that the second thing is, hey, can you use it for LinkedIn or can you use it for Meta? And I said,
Mhm.
for reporting you can, and it will give you recommendations, but the creative aspect is still on you. And
Right.
I still don't think there's any creative, maybe some tools that can kind of get the creative kind of there, but I still think that's a lot of human work, especially on the video side. If you want to focus on product and authenticity and human connection interaction, that's you need creative people to run that. We're talking like either creative agencies, creative people, creative contractors, video, like all that stuff. But the reporting and stuff can all be done by deep research because like you were saying, Brian, it's like, oh, somebody can look at the data, but it's like, but no human can look at that much data that fast.
This is data
Just
analytics 101, right?
yeah.
We've been doing business intelligence for years and years. And I've mentioned this before. My previous job before where I work now was a business intelligence consulting firm. They worked with tools that a lot of people wouldn't be familiar day to day. But if you're in BI, then you've definitely heard of ClickSense. You've definitely heard of ThoughtSpot. You've definitely heard of Looker and Tableau and these
Yeah.
different models. Well, some of those people know because they're owned by Looker was bought out by Google and Tableau is owned by Salesforce and so on and so forth. But these are big, big analytics uh, companies, and they're there to connect all the disparate sources of data together and make them work. And they use things called synthetic keys, and we don't need to go down that road, but that's how they work. And so what I'm seeing is AI come towards what we had already had in business intelligence, which is the connection of disparate sources of data. But more than that, the deep research is helping make sense of it. Whereas what I at least experienced in 2017, 2018, the biggest hurdles, they still would be the biggest hurdles, was actually gathering, putting the data together and connecting it. That's what people that I worked with, my coworkers, that's what they did through SQL all day long, is they helped take all sorts of crazy data and make sense of it, right? But it was still beholden to the human, even though they gave you great graphics, great visuals, great all that, it was still beholden to the human to make sense of the data, right? At that point, like, here it is. Here's a great, pretty picture of what's going on. What do you want to do about that? And in BI, we would have called that predictive or higher order prescriptive analytics, meaning that predictive, here's what I think is going to happen next. Prescriptive, which is the highest level that people would want to attain, is here's what you should do next. And that's where I see the intersection of deep research with this data, like you're talking about Google AdWords, which is prescriptive analytics. Not only can I tell you what's coming, so we don't have to look backwards anymore at the data, which is almost always what's happening with people with data, is what happened last month. Now let me try to predict what I should do next month. Prescriptive is different. That's here's what will happen next month, and I'm reasonably sure of where the pattern is going forward and what you should do about it. And that's the really interesting thing for me with what you're talking about in this hypothesis is like, well, could we make sense of all this data, but just not make sense of it and connect it, which it appears it can do to some level, but also tell me what I should do next?
Uh, and that led me to the next thing too, right? So it's like, okay, that's great for Google AdWords, but I'm going to log into Salesforce. I'm going to log into HubSpot. I'm going to log into Tableau, Power BI, whatever data you have, export it all, put it all into deep research. I would probably use 4.0 and let it go, right? I think that's the issue with a lot of companies. They have all this data from all these sources, and your RevOps people need like time to analyze. Then you have your OKR reports and all that kind of stuff. And I'm talking B2B here. And you at the end, every quarter, every month, you have these reports, and you go up in front of executives, and you're like, you have an hypothesis, and you think, hey, in the next 2 quarters, this is what we're gonna do, and your CFO is like, oh, that's all bullshit because I saw, like we don't have enough bookings or revenue to support this thing or whatever it is, right? But I guarantee you the CFO would probably trust I this is the funny thing. I think he would probably trust an AI over a marketer presenting numbers. I'd be like, "Who did those numbers?" The marketer did. It's like, okay. But who did those numbers? Oh, OpenAI's AI deep research, and we fed it all the day. It's like, probably trust it because also there's a little self-preservation because it's like, well, the deep research thing can do your job. So what are you here for? And that's a funny thing is that all this stuff that's going, I'm like, I can upload anything I want and literally take over my RevOps team because I can just keep asking it. Now it's a pain to keep uploading it, like exporting, uploading, but that could be a job. That could just like, that's your job. Your job every day is to download and upload. That could be the monkey thing.
That's the AI operator.
Yeah,
Right?
right?
That's
That is the monkey fingers that we talked about. You are now working for your AI, and your AI is telling you how to use your monkey fingers to give it the things that it needs.
data.
Listen, we're all going to be working for the AI operators and the AI agents in the future. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, a lot of what our jobs collectively, our jobs are going to be about keeping the agents running efficiently.
Okay,
That's
so
how we'll be.
So
That's
we're-
how our performance will be graded. I think in the long run is it's no different than me using a calculator and saying, well, I don't fat finger it all the time. And I actually write the right numbers into the calculator. Like, hey, good job, Brian. We're kind of expecting you to use the calculator, the tool we gave you. We're expecting you to actually type in the numbers correctly.
Yeah.
Way to go. Like, that's how we're grading your thing. And so I look at this and I go, yeah, aren't we just going to be graded? Aren't our superiors, who is ever my boss, is going to be going, well, Brian, you're really, really efficient at using really, really efficient AI tools. And they're going to be like, keep going. You're doing great.
Yeah.
And over time, some of those AI tools are going to coalesce and take me out of the loop. But there's always going to be the next thing that I pop up and I have to keep going and moving.
So that's Justin's question. If shortly deep research can perform tasks automatically with an operator, will enterprises hire fewer employees? Will the tech industry cut jobs and keep only a few of the highest employees?
I say no to that. That's my answer to that. But go ahead, Carl.
Well, one thing first is when you were talking about the most ironic thing out of all this is to keep my AI efficient, I'm the one who's going to have to take out the recycling. If you really go all around back, I have to.
You want it back to recycling? I'm impressed.
Because I have to take it out, not the AI, because I have to keep that efficient. So I become the monkey fingers, which is ridiculous. This whole thing goes round in circles. It's the stupidest thing I've ever thought of. So that's one.
Hey, you got to cut you off real quick, Carl, but I know you only have a few minutes here. Did you have a demo that you wanted to show so that you wanted to run really quick?
No, not really, because
Okay.
I think
Just wanted to check before we went any further, just in case we didn't run out of time.
not really. I think and I just completely lost my train of thought. I don't know what we were.
Recycling, monkey fingers, we can do all the work, not the AI. Robots not doing what he wants. Any of that?
Well, I think there is like
The question was, will enterprises hire fewer employees?
right. The I agree with you, Brian. I don't think the current companies, the large enterprises will they may cut roles, but more of like they won't hire for roles. I think the big disruptor though are the companies that are starting now or growing that never needed all those resources, that they can punch above their weight because they have 6 people who can run 20, 30 different operators at the same time, versus the company that may run 5 or 6, but they're still trying to get past all the bureaucratic layers of IT approval and all that. They're in a much different space versus a smaller company be like, "We can deploy operators. I don't care about" privacy, security, all the things that IT has to think about. This company's like, that's cool, but I only have 6 employees, so I don't need to think about all that stuff. And I can now compete with you because I have tons of different operators
Yeah.
and they're not stringent or locked down compared to yours. It's just, yeah, I don't need as much people and resources and overhead to compete. And what that to me is the biggest disruptor.
I think it's the AI startup advantage, right? There's going to be companies who don't have levels of bureaucracy, red tape, or otherwise, and they're built from the ground up. Like when Gemini says that, they built multimodal from the ground up and it made a difference. We could see a difference, right? There's a big advantage to that. So startups who are already building or about to build or start hiring their first 5, 6 employees with the idea that they are going to capitalize on operator agent, whatever you want to say, workflows, the whole thing, right? That's how they're structuring their business. Yes, that's different. But they're also back to the question. They're not firing people. That's just the way they're building their company. Now, larger legacy companies, because of history, this is why I say my answer was no to this, because history has shown us time and time and time again that yes, jobs do go away. Switch forward operator for the telephone doesn't exist anymore. There's no need for it. It got replaced by technology. There's 1,000 other examples of that. And just in my professional career, which started right after college around 2000. So I've been out in the workforce for 25 years currently, give or take, right? And just in my time, full full new jobs have existed. I've worked jobs that did not exist at the beginning of my career. And of course, others have gone away. So, what in that question of will jobs go away? Well, it's yes, but also new jobs will arise and there'll be pivots and there'll be restructuring and there'll be retraining, hopefully, for a lot of companies. So, I can't say for sure that across the board that people won't lose their jobs. I think in some cases that's obviously a very real possibility. Their job will just simply go away. And if they're not in the right type of, position that can be retrained or pivoted slightly to work with AI, then yes, there's absolutely people who will just be eliminated and will have to find other work. But I think what's not in that question is how many jobs will be created that don't exist today, and we just don't have the ability to think fully through to list them out and go, oh, okay, these 15 are going away, but these 20 are coming. We know it. Well, we don't. We don't until there's a need that arises for it, like the operator, like the whatever of the future, right? I mean, what 2 years ago we were talking about how everybody was going to be a prompt engineer. Did that happen? No, because the AI got faster, the AI got smarter, and there wasn't a necessarily need for somebody to just write great prompts all day long. That doesn't exist. But 2 years ago, people were signaling like it was going to be the job of the future. Everybody had to be doing it, and that was just 2 years ago.
Okay, but the that just shifted the name of the skill and whether it was a separate specific job as a skill. Because now the way that it's talked about is that you need to learn how to communicate with AI for reaching the objectives that you want. It's no longer really called prompt engineering in that context, but we're still talking about the same set of skills.
But wouldn't we just call that AI literacy, Beth?
Sure.
That's not a role. That's a
I
that's a
don't know,
retraining.
I 'cause I no, I wouldn't I don't think they're exact because AI literacy has like, I think everybody needs more AI literacy, whether you're using AI or not, because now you know what AI is capable of, and, we've sort of upped our game in terms of understanding what is possible. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna go there, but there it seems like there's a big gap of what, people in the bubble know what's possible and the massive gap of not understanding what's possible. Um, and, yeah, Gwen is saying, "Are you a click engineer?" Gareth, Gareth, "I'm a click engineer, click engineer." Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So I think AI literacy is a broader topic than
Do you remember the job? Like, remember, like a couple years ago, everyone's like, the prompt engineers making, what was it, like $350,000 a year? There was a job posting or something, and I was
Yeah.
like, what? And it just didn't make any sense at the time. It's like, who is gonna, like, it's like, why would you pay this person when the AI is gonna essentially? It was like, it's gonna get better, and so the prompts don't need to be. You don't need to have that, and it's like that it just didn't make any sense, but everyone's made kind of a big deal about it. I remember that. It was
yeah.
yeah.
So does this also play into Jevons paradox? Is that Jevons paradox where some jobs will go away, but more use of AI will mean other jobs are being made, but are those the same jobs?
I don't know, because as more and more people use AI, I the cost will its cost is coming down, as some, like, we've seen the cost go down, but I would imagine, and the hope is that humans or people would, like, we would figure out new ways to do things using, like, the calculator enabled us to do more things. So the idea is AI and AGI will enable us to do bigger things than what we're currently doing now, but we don't know until we all get it and all are using it kind of equally, right?
Yeah. And I think you're proving that point with Pro, right? By the way, I wanted to throw this out before we lose you, Carl. Uh, I didn't say 350,000 because that to me that's a high, that'd be a high target salary. So I used 200,000, which would be reasonable for a company. So quick math, quick table math on this: $200,000 for one employee is equivalent to giving 83 current employees ChatGPT Pro every month of the year. It's the same cost. 83 employees getting full access, their own access, not shareable, ChatGPT Pro, or hire one $200,000 employee who perhaps can do whatever. So my answer to that is the answer is 83, because that's 83 people you're assuming have expertise in their field. Yeah, so you're not taking one person saying, hey, one person, 200,000. You have to know all the things. No. I just need my current experts that I'm hiring to have more efficiency tools, which is what you were just saying. So if that was the case, and of course it's not that black and white for companies, but silly table math here. If it was, you'd have to think, I'm just going to give my 83 best niche experts on what they do access to ChatGPT Pro and let them go hog wild and give them the space and the clearance to go do it and really break things along the way, because that's how you're going to learn. I mean, what would you get out of those 83 employees 1 year later?
Yeah.
Okay, but if you're gonna do that, you're gonna want to pull in
I see a Carl.
thanks, Carl. You're gonna want to pull in a consultant who can facilitate that skill building and knowledge transfer in that way,
Correct.
right?
It's still a new
Because
tool. Yeah.
I mean, this is just like people, enterprises that are saying, "Oh, we need to do something with AI. We're going to get everybody a Copilot subscription for so that they can use AI in Microsoft 365," and then just leave it at that. And then 2 months later, like, no, nobody. We spent all this money. No one's getting any value out of it.
Right.
Yeah. Greg keeps saying it eliminates the middle pieces, like the middle jobs, but this middle job facilitating human expertise and how to get great results from AI is not a job you should eliminate, and you should in fact bring people in like us or anyone that you wish to do that who has the skill. But that's part of what we're doing with this show
Yeah, exactly.
and this specific episode.
Yeah, this is I look, I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back here, but this is like free consulting, right?
I
The
am.
whole idea here is to have conversations about it and to talk about these things and go, well, look, hold on. $200 a month. And look, I'm not currently paying it. I don't, for me, you said at the top of the show, it's about like, what's my time to value. And you have to have that figured out, or at least you need to test it for a month and have the bandwidth or the cost. Carl said it. I'm going to try this for 1 month. In that 1 month, they came out with some new features that made him stay with Pro. Now, some of those features may trickle down to Plus, and now Carl might have a decision to make. Do I need the higher reps? Can I do? Is there something that's still there at Pro that makes me not drop back down to Plus? And I think everybody will be kind of doing that in terms, Carl. Well, if I could still get deep research and I can run it 5 times a month, and I wasn't running it 30 anyway, why not just pay the $20 a month? Why would I pay 200? So there's going to be that tug and pull, I think, for a while.
That was some research that I can't find an answer on. I don't know if you know it or if someone in the chat does, but you get near unlimited access to the things that Carl was saying. But he also said that he uses O3 Mini High as his default use case.
Yeah.
And I have not seen I haven't seen anything that says they get X number of O3 Mini High more. We get plus subscriptions I haven't seen it on the list of that, but cool. Let's find it. Because that might be the deal. That might be the thing. If you could just get better answers overall from that O3 Mini High, using that O3 Mini High as your default, then that could turn the switch for some folks.
I'll have to validate this too, Beth, but I saw that deep research is $100 per month. So there is a limit on deep research, I believe. I do not believe that's near unlimited on the
Okay.
So
I
think O3 High, yes, that's the way I remember seeing it. I would have to go validate this, but I think O3 High, it said near unlimited, but there is some theoretical break there. But deep research, I do think there is an actual physical hard limit of 100 per month. So it's not something you can run every day, all day. No, 100% is three a day, give or take. So
Right. O3 Mini is for Plus, O3 Mini is 150 a day, and O3 Mini High is 150 a week. And it's ridiculous. Yeah, just in the face of that limitation, I am second guessing every freaking time I'm using O3 Mini High. I maybe that's the challenge. I will challenge myself. If you all would like to step into the challenge with me and you have ChatGPT Plus, use O3 Mini High up this week. Let's see what that feels like, right? How many am I even close in a normal use case? But
so this is okay. This is me asking O3 Mini High what the limit is.
yeah.
Because why not, right? Use the tools you got. So it is.
Can it search? Did it search?
Yes, they can search. O3 Mini High can search. Okay, so this is what it says. For ChatGPT Pro users, there's essentially no cap on using O3 Mini High. You get unlimited access. So if you're paying a premium, feel free to fire away without worrying about the daily limit. This contrasts with the free or lower tier accounts, which have stricter user limits. It also, does it tell me in here? Plus or Team have a more limited access with 50 messages per week for O1 and O1 Mini, but it didn't specifically say about O3. But anyway, it answered the question. If we're to assume that it did the search correctly and it's giving me OpenAI and beebom.com, that's legit. BEEBOM.com is one of the cited sources, but at least the other source is OpenAI. Because I'm not knocking Beebom, but I've never heard of them. And this is a definite trust but verify situation where I'd want to know what Beebom got their information from. So
Your information must come from 3 actual sources, but
imagine
maybe
being in
none
a
of them need to be very good or there's a
imagine being meeting with your executive and they're like, that all sounds great, Brian. Just go ahead and tell me where, can you tell me where you cited those sources? And you'd be like, it was Beebom, sir. I went to beebom.com. A very reputable source. I have no idea who that is, but it just trust but verify on that one. Okay, so I think we've answered that question. So my question to you, Beth, is if you break this down, what?
Sorry.
Did you have a question first?
We have a question in the chat, but if we break this down.
Yeah, real quick. A deep research, it's able to do, let's just give some examples. This is directly from the OpenAI.com site. You can do stuff for business, needle in a haystack. That's the one where they kind of demoed it, where they're like, there's this TV show that I forgot a while ago. It has this person, there's 2 people playing poker, right? They do that demo and it comes back and does a really good deep research. Are you going to pay $200 a month because you forgot a TV show? Probably not. But it's a good example. Business use cases are help me find iOS and Android adoption rates, percentage of who wants to learn from another language and change both. So it's a business use case. It does a great job for that. We've seen the medical research ones. We've heard about UX design. So this UX one, find evidence that shows the buttons with the icons and labels are more usable than buttons without labels or labels without icons. So totally, right? If you're going to build a website and you needed research on that. And then there's shopping and general knowledge. Okay. So assuming, Beth, that you had like said, you know what, one of these is kind of what I do. I'm not just a generalist. I actually do this and I could use this. I can use this. Let's assume it's 100 times a month because I haven't validated that, but use it as a number. You're probably talking about multiple times a month, deep research that would have taken you 2, 3, 4, maybe 10 plus hours. And there's data showing that it actually does better on the 10 plus hour stuff than the earlier ones. And you're running it for, let's just call it $2 a pop for that type of research. So $2 and 5 minutes for the deep research of a human that would take you 3 to 10 hours to do.
Mhm.
If you know the use case, would you see the value in it? Would you already be paying for it, I guess is my question.
Yes.
Long follow-up, but there's the question.
Yes. And for me, the other piece of that is that in the deep research that is being done and handed back to me, it's already in written, organized form.
Right.
So
Fair.
just doing the research, like, might have taken me 10 hours to do the research. I then need to write a first draft,
Sure.
right? And that, for me, that distillation of the ideas into the writing is also a really big, time thing for me. I don't write quickly. I write well, but I don't write quickly. Um, and so that would absolutely, do that as well. I have to say that I am currently looking at the budget and trying to figure out where I can squeeze out the extra so that I can say that 200 is worth it for me. Um and yes, there are I think the people who are making that assessment already have, like, a bucket or an offer, something that they, have immediate ROI on, right? Do we have a course, and based on what we did with AdWords as Carl's example, are we now selling the course more than 200 a month? And that,
Right.
Wrigley McKay, um it had a post, February 9th, so yesterday, no, 2 days ago, and, shared their AdWords thing. So it's a force multiplier, it's a massive competitive advantage, um, and they sell a course, right? So that's part of what's happening, but I'm just seeing that over and over again in terms of people. Rob Lennon, bit the bullet now. And the other thing that's being said among those people is, "Hey, just to let you know, this is addictive. Like, you're not gonna wanna go, you did, like, once you go pro, you don't go back, I guess, I don't know, because it's so convenient." Um, so the question that Gareth was asking, Justin was asking, is deep research different per model?
Good question. For when Carl was showing it, like, is deep research different for 4.0 than it is for O1 Pro or O3 Mini? I'm assuming that's the question.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's got to be right because the abilities of those models differ pretty greatly. So I think it would have to be based on the power of the model. 4.0 is meant to be fast. So what's coming into the deep research would be at a different level. I'm not going to say quality, but just a different level than what O1 Pro should be coming in at because it's O1 Pro is not meant to be fast. It's meant to spend more time on the thinking side of it, then layered on, like Carl was saying, with deep research. So I don't know that this deep research is different. I think deep research is a layer, like Carl kind of said it, that sits on top of the model. And so it's whatever's coming out of the model is then definitely going to affect the deep research. But is the deep research different? It's a good question, Gareth. And I guess I would say deep research is deep research. It's the model it's working with that's going to ultimately make the biggest difference.
Right, right.
Right?
To
I could
I
say.
agree. 'Cause I think it is the function. I realize function means something in terms of code and calling functions. That's not what I'm saying. Uh, um, but it is, yeah, it is a lens through which yeah. It sits on top of the model, you're right, it sits on top of the query.
Yeah.
So, if you have something that needs uploaded files or you wanna do audio input in order to get the idea out that you want researched, then you could use deep research on top of 4.0 because 4.0 accepts all of those, files, accepts all of those inputs. But
Hmm.
then once that research is done, you could switch model in that conversation and go to O1 Pro and ask your, deep planning whatever, and then switch again to O3 Mini High and have it, write in whatever the end result to your desired end result, right? So that is,
And
that
you kind of nailed it, right? Like Beth, if we had the 83 people, going back to our analogy earlier of 83 people having pro, you were like, hey, those 83 people need to be trained how to do it. I think you just nailed what the best use case of that AI literacy is if there was a consultant or just whoever's going in and doing the training, and they said, not only are we going to show you how to do deep research, we're going to show you when you should be switching back and forth between each model to get the absolute most efficient answer, both for the company because you don't want to blow through a stack of deep research tokens if O3 Mini High can answer it just as well. But that's knowledge. You have to know which models do what for you. And so knowing when 4.0 will get the job done, just like we know when 3.5 or O3 Mini or Sonar versus Sonar Pro, right? For Perplexity's API. It's you have to kind of know which ones they're good at, which not. Which by the way, it just takes training and multiple iterations to like you kind of have to test to see what it is. Like Beth and I have been doing that and teaching that for a really long time. Is you have to go in and you just have to test the models. You have to compare and contrast and maybe make a matrix for yourself on what good or bad looks like. But I think you kind of nailed it, Beth, which is that would be in this scenario, that would be the best case. A company says, we're going to give you this tool, but hold on, you don't just get the tool. You get somebody coming in and they're going to tell you how to use not only what the tool gives you, Pro gives you, but also when it's best to switch between models to get the absolute best results out of this for both efficiency and quality of result. That's a very, very powerful. Imagine 83 people in a company who all have their own expertise. Maybe one's in marketing, one's in sales, but then break down sales and say one's an SDR, one's an AD, and one is the manager, right? So you go into all these little areas, and if all these 83 people, let's say, had somewhere between 2 and 5 years experience in their job, and then you teach them how to best use a tool like this,
Mhm.
that's a company that gets really, really scary for the competitors because they're going to be able to move at a pace that's going to be very hard for other competitors to keep up with and their
Mhm.
level of detailed research. And maybe to Carl's point about AdWords, how they're putting out ads, how they're doing efficiencies at scale, all this other stuff. And all those 83 people are in the very best seat possible for agentic workflows in the near future.
Right. And I'm actually gonna say that that's one model of it. Another vision that would be very similar could be that, it's not so much that you have uh, 83, let's say you have 20 people who are sort of the monkey fingers in your organization, right? So then that's per department. There's somebody in each department who is the AI interface in that
Mhm.
context, and so then that person is very trained, probably has ongoing training because as we're talking about this is going to change. It changed for the last time we talked about ChatGPT Pro. It's definitely gonna change in the next month, right?
Yeah.
So that person is paying much more attention to what's happening. Um, and and that I think an ongoing relationship with your AI consultant professional, I think is necessary just because of the pace of what's happening. And
Yeah.
that's a way that you could do it, right? So that you have 20 people who are in that ongoing relationship, right? So the training happens by subscription. Maybe it's more like group coaching. This is something that I'm experimenting with. And And then there's an evaluation piece on the other side of why it's important to connect with people who are deep into what's possible and doing that on a daily basis, weekly basis, those sorts of things. Yeah, okay.
You want to bring in before we wrap up? We good?
Um, just read Anthropic's Economic Index. First thing I thought of, the wage inequality problem may get actually even worse. Well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I read that
There's
too. I think that's a valid point.
uh
And just
so
talked about it in his blog too, didn't he? He kind of referenced that, not that specifically, but he talked about certain prices continuing to climb before
yeah,
they perhaps go down, you know? So yeah,
yep.
anyway.
So, the good news is, if you are listening to this show, paying attention to this show, you are in the top 3%. But it is really important to be able to communicate about the tools you're using and what that value is, and why you personally are the best conduit for that value.
Yeah. And, even better news, Beth, we don't cost $200 per month. We actually cost a 0 for people to come hang out with us. It costs you no money. So make sure you're liking and subscribing because that's how you can. That is a form of payment if you ask me. It's something that costs you nothing, but it actually has value to Beth and I and everybody else of the co-hosts of the Daily Ash Show. It's how we grow. It's how we reach more people. It's how we get money in from Google ads and stuff, which is actually growing for us. So if you would like to see this show grow, if you'd like us to do more things, put out more content, I promise you, one of the easiest ways you can help us is subscribing and liking the show. Because what that does is actually increases the ads and ad revenue that you see from this is just YouTube, never mind the other platforms, and really actually puts it's small right now, Beth, right? It's a minuscule amount. Nobody's quitting their job over this show yet, but it's enough that it's starting to make a difference. 2,700 subscribers. Beth and I can see the difference. So it's a super easy way that you can support us. Of course, only if you like what we're doing. We are here just as a reminder. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. You can obviously like and subscribe. You can go to thedailyashshow.com. It's a website that we very much want to update and make even better. We have big plans for it. But on that website, you can go and sign up for the newsletter. That's another great way to do it. And then also, like if you're interested, I'll just throw this out here, Beth, as a last thing. It's sort of the end of the show. But here's the questions. Anybody listening right now, you could throw it in the comments. We had people ask Beth and I and everybody else for like more geared towards content towards one area or another. And so we have floated around the idea. Of course, the show will always be free. That'll never change. But people have asked us like whether we'd be willing to put together workshops and courses and stuff like that would cost something. Listen, we're here for you guys. So if that's something you think would be valuable to you, we would love to know it. Kind of let us know what you're thinking, what you feel like some of the gaps are for you, or where you think, the show, the co-host, where could we help you? Hey, throw that in the chat and let us know because we're always open to new ideas. And I would say, right, Beth, lately, we seem to have a lot more of these requests sort of coming in through emails and through the show and stuff, and people asking us, hey, would you be interested in doing workshops? Are you ever going to do a course and these things? So, just curious to you guys, 1 billion subscribers by 2026. That's the goal, Jude. I would also take 200,000. I'm not greedy. I'm not greedy. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks for everybody hanging out in the comments. We appreciate it. We saw Andy earlier, by the way. Andy was in the comments. If you happen to catch him, he's traveling a bit, but he was checking in and hanging out virtually in the comments. So it's cool to see Andy. Andy, hope you're doing well. Thanks to Carl, who's not here anymore, but he was able to show us a little bit more of Pro, which is nice because Beth and I don't currently have it. But who knows? After today, maybe some of you guys will bite the bullet for a month and decide whether it makes sense for you. And it is month to month, by the way. I saw that question in the comments. So no, you're not tied into it's not like Copilot where you're going to try to get, looped into a 1-year agreement. If you have the budget and $200, I would say come up with some really, really good use cases and be really, really specific about what you're testing so you know whether it's worth the value to you. But if you have the disposable income to test it for $200, absolutely. I would totally do that. And by the end of the month, know whether it's going to make a difference for you or not. Okay, that's it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Thank you, Beth. And we will see you guys tomorrow for all the latest AI news, of which, once again, there's quite a few things in there. So come back tomorrow and hang out with us again. Bye.